Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Hatta, Dubai. We are here for the fifth and last task of this year's UAE Hike and Fly Championship. As usually, I'm Fiore, and here with me is Nick. And again, together we will bring you along today's task. The athletes are going to be starting really, really soon. They're already lining up on the starting line. So we will be looking at them starting in the next few minutes. Um, so let's go through today's task. Let's see if we have it here.
There was some changes, as usual, like they have a day where they visit the site beforehand and check it out before the task. So
Yeah,
yeah, there's some the same turn points, but just some slight changes of the order.
yeah, exactly. Basically, the task was announced on the first day, but yesterday during the test day, the athletes trying to fly the area and they asked for some changes. So basically, this is what's going to happen. The athletes will be starting from um, from the start. They have to run to the antenna takeoff, which is approximately 6 kilometers away from the start. They can then fly from there as far as they can until basically close to the start or even a little bit further. They will have then to hike to Terpen 1. They can fly back to the start. They have to land at the start and then hike to the Hatta sign, which is the biggest metal sign in the world. Is bigger than the Hollywood sign.
Oh, really?
From there, they will have to try and make a real cross-country flight back to a big cylinder around the antenna area again, and back to the start where the finish line is. So this last bit of the task will probably make the biggest difference, as the athletes who will manage to fly all the way will definitely be faster. Again, there's around a 6 kilometer gap between the start and the antenna. And so depending how the conditions will be, yesterday was a little bit windy and was not very easy for the athletes to climb in thermals. But today the wind looks like a little bit milder, so there might be some better thermals for them from them to use in order to fly a little bit further.
Yeah, only thing I'd say to that is you said it's 6 Ks to the antenna, the first turn point, but that's not the line of sight route. It's probably just over half that, I believe,
Yeah,
in a
true,
straight line. So
true.
yeah, if you can fly it, it's not very far.
Yeah.
But the hills, I mean, they look really rugged and it definitely looks like a nice skyline behind us, but they're not huge, and it would be tricky to connect with the thermal. Not that I've flown here myself, but yeah, that'll be the interesting thing to watch.
Yeah, again, the hills are very, very small where we're flying today, and the valley is quite wide open, so it's not going to be easy. I mean, yesterday somebody managed to start from the Hatta side, or anyway on that ridge, and fly all the way to the antenna ridge. So hopefully we'll see today what the athletes will bring to the table. But again, if they can't fly, it's going to be quite a long run. The overall route, just by running, is close to 30 kilometers. So that's almost a marathon in this extreme heat with some elevation as well.
Yep. Yeah, it's a nice temperature for sitting in the shade. I'm not really sweating too much. We've got the water handy, but yeah, definitely a different story when you're running up a hill with a pack in the hot sun.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday I was hiking up the hill with a backpack, and it definitely, I can tell you, it was brutal with the temperature. And we drank just for a couple hundred meters elevation. I drank probably 1 liter, 1.5 liter water because the heat really drains you.
Yeah, I just heard an empty water bottle get blown off the fence beside us. The athletes were all around here just a few minutes ago to the start. So yeah, they should be starting soon. We'll
Yeah,
keep an eye on that.
sure. And just to recap the situation so far, we have last task in Al Faya. So Aaron Dragatti winning again, followed by Daniel Oberauer and Damiel Kaz. Remember Seb Ospina, remember Damiel Kaz bombed out on the road and finished the race running. whereas Seb Ospina was warming out pretty much in the same moment, but decided to go back to the hill and try and finish flying, which he did, but it took him more time. And then we see Maurice Kohler in fifth position. This was task 4 in Halfaya. As far as the women, situation is pretty much unchanged with Pauline Müller running a long way to her first place in the women's ranking, followed by Melina Vinci and Ellie Egger, who I believe all of them actually didn't finish the task. But anyways, this was their order of arrival close to the finish line. And this brings us to an overall situation of Aaron Durgati in first position with 6 points, followed by Lars Merstetter with 16 points. And so there's a very big gap between the first and second position, which means that, I mean, today's task, it's important, but Lars has to be 10 positions ahead of Aaron in order to pass him on the overall ranking, which is very unlikely, unless, of course, Aaron makes some major mistake on today's race.
So Aaron's 6 points is basically 3 firsts and 1 third. He's being really strong. But if he takes the risk of flying and ends up wasting a lot of time and lose a lot of places, I mean, he'd have to lose a lot of places to not win the overall, wouldn't he?
Yeah. And
I have to say, the last task at Alfire, the win for Aaron was definitely due to flying. It like he has been really strong on the ground in the other tasks, and in some of them there wasn't any flying at all, or not much really. But he's definitely has to attribute his last task win to being really sensible in the air, watching the people ahead of him, but deciding not to follow them. It was too risky, and then being really flying really well to get as high as he could, and then getting a thermal on the way over the flats. So yeah.
yeah. And as we speak, the athletes must be lining up on the start line, or actually I see them running already. So the race has just started. We see the race director coming up to us right now, and we are looking at the first athletes running along the road towards. We're looking at the challenge category running towards TP1, because actually we didn't mention that. Of course, the task with claim is for the pro category. The challenge category instead will go first to turn point 1, launch from there, and then go to turn point antenna. So if they can already fly to antenna, better. But at this time of day, they will most likely be landing somewhere in the middle of the valley, and will have to hike up to antenna. And then they will have to fly back to to the Hatta sign, or turn point 1, which is basically the same mountain, and then a second time to the antenna cylinder and back to the landing field. So their task was also modified during yesterday evening's meeting, where every athlete could share their ideas or worries about any different issues, and the race organization then tried to find a solution to make everybody happy. I'd say this is also something that shows that this event in general, I mean, it's about competing, and it's about decreting who is the strongest athlete, who is the fastest flyer, but is as well. I mean, the UAE is definitely not the first place that comes to mind when you think about paragliding, but I think events like this one can contribute to develop the culture in a country like this about paragliding, and bringing more people in, and creating more pilots, and hopefully in the future developing more advanced and more fun competitions as well.
Yep, I don't think there's been any competition tasks here before, that's for sure. So it's not only like competing, but it's also exploring and discovering something new. And often when you get a bunch of comp pilots, they might be able to, as a group, figure something out that hasn't been figured out before. You know, like you've got a lot of good pilots marking the air, trying something different, trying to get an advantage. And yeah, I'll be interested to see how the race goes today.
Yeah. And as Nick was saying, this is definitely not only the first time that a competition task is held in this place, but it's the first time paragliders, I mean, in this occasion, it's the first time paragliders are allowed to fly in this area, as this is the birthplace of the King of Dubai, and we are actually very close to his own house. So we are flying over
Just
King's
over the back there.
just over there. And so it's definitely Word's first time as well. And this also shows the trust of the king into what we're doing here. And in the meantime, we are looking at one of the camera giving us some footage. I believe this is the challenge athletes running up the trail to turn point one on the Hatta Sign Mountain. So we will
Very
can,
rocky terrain around
yeah,
here. Yeah.
yeah. That also was giving some concerns for the athletes. You know, the terrain is very rough, but it's just the same as Jebel Jais and Jebel Yaraf, pretty much. And
Yeah.
the valley is even more open. So at the end, the flying conditions are not bad at all. They're actually probably easier than Jebel Jais.
It's more the launching conditions I'll be worried about. You
Yeah,
cut one line and then your wing's out of shape, and yeah, cutting one line isn't a big deal, but yeah, you have to get it up cleanly. Like even if one line catches, then the whole wing's not going to form into the right shape, and you won't be able to launch. So
yeah. And as you can see, we are looking at the line of athletes running. They started just a few minutes ago, and they're running towards the antenna. So they'll have to run along the road, and then very soon they will be crossing through the little town that you can see in the middle of the screen right now. And again, on the first leg, they will have to run all the way to the antenna takeoff, which is up here. And from there, they will take off and try to fly back as close as possible to turn point one, which is the next turn point.
yeah, that earlier, Fiordo mentioned that Seb Espini and Damien Lacar's landed pretty much together at the last task, and Damien opted to finish the task on foot, and Seb went up the hill to fly. One of the reasons why he came in after Damien is that it took him quite a long time to launch on the rocky slope.
Yeah. And as usual, we still didn't mention it, but thank you very much for following us. And if you want, feel free to interact with us in the comments, in the live comments. We'll be happy to answer your questions about the race, about this place, and about what we're doing here. And we're currently looking at Noé Court, Remy Bourdel, and Thomas Matera together with, I mean, they're very close together, so it's hard even to, Lars Merstetter as well. So this is the head group, which is now taking the detour from the road, trying to take the best way up to the antenna turn point. And as well, Daniel Oberauer, Paul Guschelbauer, Yuji Moto, I'm seeing Veso, and Pauline Muller, and Eli Egger. We know that Aaron, for Aaron, running is not his best activity, is not his favorite activity probably.
How's it
So
going
he
now?
was
Can you see?
probably not very happy about the start
Yeah.
today.
Yeah, too much flattening on the hill for him.
Yeah. So let's see if we can find him. I mean, the athletes are very close together unless they start to split. I'd actually start to split in now. So we're looking at Noé Court, Remy Burdel, and and Nicola Heininger taking one route, whereas everybody else has turned right a little bit earlier than them, and we'll see which way is shorter. Here is Aaron. He's together with Michael Wici, Paul Guschelbauer, and Stanislav Meyer. I would say around mid of the pack. And again, when people are, the first run is always the slowest moment of the race, probably because the athletes are just running. But sooner uh, than later, we'll see who is going to be able to fly longer and gain advantage on the others. Again, yesterday evening we had a pilots meeting where they could like interact with the organization and bring on the table their concerns and ideas. And so today's task ended up being modified to try and value the flying more than the original task was.
Hmm.
Because how the original task was planned, maybe it was more likely for the athletes to be running a lot, whereas in this way we're trying to make them fly more, which is ultimately what these guys are here for.
Yeah, makes it a bit more interesting for us too to see the different route decisions people make.
And it looks like the headpack did make a mistake here on the route as they took a longer detour. So Lars, Nicola, and Remy,
I wonder who's following Google Maps and who has the apps telling where to go.
yeah. I mean, as well, we remind you that the live tracking for this race is provided by Relief Maps, and which is also a route planner, and so it's definitely a good companion for your hike and fly ventures, and could be a useful tool also on races like this one. And if you want to follow the action from the live tracking yourself, remember you can always click the link in the description below this video and access the direct live tracking website.
hmm
All right. So we'll sing, I believe, Thomas Matera together with Lars Verstetter now leading the race as they took a more efficient cut towards the antenna point. Estimated time to the antenna is probably from the start close to an hour, maybe 50 minutes. And yeah, this started already uh, 15 minutes ago, pretty much 10, 15 minutes ago. So they'll probably be up there in about 20, 25 minutes. Again, Aaron, who is currently leading the overall ranking so far with 3 first places and 1 third place, is now in the middle of the pack as this first phase of the race involves lots of running and that's not his favorite activity due to his knee pain and knee problems. But when the stuff gets steep, I would say there's nobody who can beat him.
Yeah, he'll be picking people off
Yeah.
left, right, and center.
And they have 4 kilometers to go to the antenna and only about 200 meters elevation. So that kind of shows how little the hills here are where we're flying today.
Uh-huh.
And so from only 200 meters elevation, they will have to then fly a distance of, around 60
Yeah, what,
kilometers.
15 to 1 glide or something, which is
Yeah. I mean, definitely.
just to get back to the start.
Yeah,
More would get them close to the next turn point.
exactly. So that's a real technical, ICSI flying terrain.
hmm Yeah, I mean, um, I assume there's thermals about. It's pretty light air down here at the landing, but it'll just be whether you're high enough to connect to them from the small hills.
And in the meantime, we have some live footage from the lower takeoff, TP1, where the challenge category athletes will shortly be arriving.
So it's good to see everyone's still healthy and out there after four and a bit tasks.
Yeah, I believe Moreno Parmesan, he had also some knee problems in the past 2 days. So the 2 rest days were definitely um, useful for him to recover a little bit. And he actually skipped scouting day yesterday to keep recovering. But we'll see how we'll do today. Again, today it's a long task. It's a big day. There will definitely be lots of hiking as well, and so physical minor even minor physical problems can
Bring you down.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I remember chatting to him. He's a cancer survivor, and I said it's a bit like having a low save in paragliding when you're in a cross country and you think you might hit the deck, but you manage to get back up again.
Mm.
So yeah, he's got a really good outlook on life because he knows how close it was.
And speaking about the challenge category, at the moment um, we have Mr. Mohsen Mansouri from Iran, who is literally dominating the race as he has won all of the tasks so far. So we will see how it will do today.
If you see any of the skyscraper launches where the cobras are coming up on the side of the building, the guy helping with the canopies is probably Molsam. He was doing that for much of the day.
Yeah, he was our takeoff assistant on the building. He did an amazing job there for sure. Yeah.
Feeling some light air a bit more than before, so it might indicate that there's thermals going off and drawing air in.
Yeah. And again, we're looking at the group splitting in two again. Yesterday, when we hiked for the training day, we went on the left side route, which looked like being quite shorter. But I see the majority of the pilots are taking the right side route, so we will see. Again, the right route is probably climbing a little bit earlier, so it's less steep, but it looks like it's quite longer. Whereas on the left route, you are running a little bit longer, but then you're closer to the actual takeoff. And it looks like only Thomas Matera, Michael Wicci, and Stanislav Mayer are taking this route, as well as Gabriel Jensen, who changed his mind. He was going right with all the others, but then realized probably left is better, and so he's trying to go back on the left track. And we have Nicola Heininger and Damien Lacaze leading the group on the right side of the track. And we're looking at Aaron, who has already overtaken a few athletes and is now climbing together with the head group towards the takeoff on the antennas. Currently closing the pack, we have again Moreno, who was accusing some knee pain in the last few days, so no surprise, together with Nicola Donini and Seb Ospina.
If I remember right, Moreno's knee accident was from stepping on a loose rock when he was hiking, so it wasn't anything to do with flying, if I remember right.
Yeah, I think it's something even like chronicle that he has.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah, it's
an
not
old
it's not
thing.
it's nothing that it's nothing that came out here.
Hmm.
So no surprise for him. But definitely, with big efforts on these days and walking on loose rock terrain, um, stuff like this can be a pain in the ass. All right, so very soon we will see which one of the two paths will pay off better. Thomas Matera, also ultra runner and triathlete, decided to um, go on the flatter ground first, and he's made quite a bit of a gap with the following athletes. But his route is definitely will be a little bit steeper towards the end. And again, probably the slowest moment of today's task, as the athletes are now approaching the mountain, the actual mountain. And among the head pack on the right side track, I also saw the face of Heli, Helmut Heikholzer, following Damien Lacaze, with Remy Boudel.
So he's doing pretty well for his age, in his late 40s, and
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely a fit guy. You can see that.
it does seem to be a sport where you can be older and still hang in there with the young fellas. There's a bunch of 20 people in their early 20s
Yeah,
doing quite well here, but the older athletes can still hang in there because a lot of it's about endurance and decision making rather than just, yeah, speed.
yeah, true, and especially on longer races, I would say age is uh, actually being a little bit on the higher range is definitely an advantage, as your body is consuming less, so you get more endurance, and as well you get possibly more experience in flying and decision making. So it's actually a plus to be a little bit older on longer races. On short races like today, like these ones, of course, to have a little bit more of a sprint is definitely a bonus. But apparently, uh, even people in their late 40s can still have that sprint.
Well, Aaron's, I think he's in his mid to late 30s, so not
I
too
think it's
far off the mark.
38, 39.
Hmm.
Yeah, so close to 40. 37. Oh, I was giving him more.
We've got some backup information here.
Yeah,
Sometimes we just make things up and we don't know. Yeah?
hopefully not too often.
Hopefully we'll get some camera footage soon so we can show you some rocks.
Yep, we have one camera getting ready at the Hatta sign. Again, this will be the second to last turn point for our pro category. Um, but it's definitely a very good place to film. As soon as we have stable image feed, we will show it to you. And I believe we're looking at Mosed, yes, Mosed, who already launched from turn point one from the challenge category and is currently gonna land back at the starting line. So he is the first athlete from the challenge category approaching uh, the valley, and he will then have to run up to the antennas where he will basically follow the pro guys. I mean, Moshed really showed that he can easily take part in the pro category probably next time. And here we are at the Hatta sign. Hopefully we'll have more stable image later. So from here we can see basically the launch at PP1. We could see, no, not anymore. But you can see the big letters of the Hatta sign. Again, this is the tallest, the biggest metal sign in the world. Bigger than the Hollywood sign. It's 19 point something meters high.
Could be a good thermal trigger.
Yeah, actually, yesterday the guys were taking off from the back of the sign and managed to soar up pretty well to close to the top of the mountain. And as we speak, Thomas Matera has started actually his halfway of his climb, and now we'll see which route was better. And as we expected, Aaron has overpassed pretty much the whole group that he had in front of him. Now that the hill is
The
getting
uphill.
steeper, yeah.
Yep.
So they will soon reach the first takeoff of the day.
But he won't be the first in the air because that's already happened in the challenger category.
True, true. Again, Moshed is showing us an amazing performance this year, and he's followed by Ben Hodgson from South Africa, and also doing a very good performance.
It's good to see some people that aren't in Europe still doing well, although it seems like even though he's from South Africa, he does spend a lot of time in Europe.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about Osho.
All right, so let's see if we can have a live feed. Oh, there we go. Yes. All right, and so we have the live feed from the cameras now. Again, this is the Hatta sign where the athletes will arrive as a second to last turn point. After the Hatta sign, they will have to fly back all the way back to the antenna, but only tag a 1 kilometer radius cylinder. And
Just
so,
looking at those flags, it looks like it's over the back at Hatta.
yeah, which is expected today. The
Yep.
wind is blowing from east northeast, and sign is looking basically at west. Yeah,
Yeah, well, we can see it from where we are, so
yeah.
yeah. But yesterday they launched from the back and flew around. Is that how?
Yeah, they were soaring the back of the ridge and then thermaling up and making enough altitude to cross the valley and go back to the antenna.
Hmm. Psychologically, it's a little bit difficult to launch on the other side of the mountain facing the opposite way that you want to go, but could make things easy in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, the wind was definitely quite on the stronger side yesterday, so it was a no-brainer to take off over there. But
Hmm.
yeah, it's of course, it's never easy to have to walk a longer route to find a good
Hmm.
takeoff and then have to fly back where you came from, basically. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it's been a pretty busy week with the long bus rides and yeah, just all the action. So, we're pretty tired, but the athletes are probably going to have to be up a bit later at night studying the route and checking that all their electronics are ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah, long days for sure. I mean, here we still are in the Dubai Emirate, but still almost a couple hours away from the city. So basically, we crossed the whole desert and reached the mountain range very close to the border with Oman. Actually, the border is only 10 kilometers away from here.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah.
Yeah. And as we speak, we're currently looking at, I believe, the group who took the right on the trail maybe had it better because the route is a little bit softer on the way up. And it looks like Aaron is now going to be the first one on launch. Again, one of the issues of today's tasks are quite small launches. So that's also part of the reason why the task was changed. So to try and have a little bit more separation between the athletes. on their first takeoff. And as well, the antenna takeoff is a little bit bigger than the others, so should be not a problem for these guys to get ready and launch one after the other. And Aaron is now definitely shifted one gear up and is making a little bit of a gap behind him.
Sometimes the way I think about Australian pilots is that they're generally quite good because the conditions in Australia, if you're not good, you have very short flights and you don't have much of a good time and you probably won't stay in the sport. So you've got to be really keen and it helps to get those extra skills. And in Europe, you can have not a lot of skills, but you can still have amazing flying. Just off a lift from a top to bottom is an amazing flight. So uh, you you don't like if you're a pilot in Europe, you don't have to be good to have a good time. And I think there's a wider spread, but because they can fly in more conditions, you get the really good pilots as well. Obviously, because they just get a lot more practice.
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe it's like that with this task too. If you are from an area like this, it's a bit more technical with the flying, the takeoffs, the launches. And if you're from Europe, if you're used to flying from big green paddocks, it might be something that you haven't done before. But for these ex-Alps pilots, definitely they have the kind of skills to launch in any kind of situation. So yeah, they should manage.
Yeah, for sure. But still, I guess this is also part of the reason why some pilots were, I wouldn't say complaining, but sharing different ideas about launches here and terrain and stuff because just something they're not used to.
Yep.
And I would say Aaron has basically made it to the top or almost. And so he'll be probably launching soon if the wind conditions are okay for launching, and especially if they are good enough to hope to climb a little bit and fly as far as they can. And in the distance here in the 3D reconstruction, you can see the start finish where most likely the pilots will manage to fly to before having to climb back to turn point one, back to the start, back to Hatta, and then the last flight, the most challenging flight to the 1 kilometer cylinder and back to the finish line.
Yeah, 1 kilometer within the antenna.
Yeah,
So yep, they can tag that in the air ideally.
yeah. But the good thing is, even if they don't manage to fly there, it's still quite easy to tag it on the ground.
Yep.
So it's just going to be a matter of packing and running a few kilometers more. And from the Tupi one, we are looking at the mountain range where the antenna is, a little bit on the right of the frame now. Well, basically, that's pretty much the direction the pilots will be flying from, and hopefully as close as possible to the small mountain where TP1 takeoff is. Still trying to see if we get some live footage from the different camera. Well, not yet. So we're going back to the live tracking. We'll see very soon the first pilots in the air. In the meantime, yeah, Thomas Matera had to run back to meet the trail of the others again, and so he definitely lost a few positions this way.
Yeah, in these kind of races, I'd much rather do vertical meters than horizontal because it's just better on your body. You're not having the impact on your joints. It's hard work, but I feel like you can just keep going up all day long. Um, whereas if you're going on the road, you tend to wear out your joints, and then yeah, that's not so good for your health of your legs.
And again, guys, thank you very much for following us today. We did work today on an even um, stronger and more reliable connection for our streaming. So hopefully we are delivering the best quality possible. And it looks like Aaron is on takeoff and Nicola Heininger following very shortly. So we'll see who's going to be the first one in the air. Again, the forecast was calling for a little bit of east wind, which is not like the ideal direction for the launch. But we'll see what these guys will come up with. Maybe they will launch in a different side and manage, fly their way out of the lee side and back to the start.
The way I think about mountains is most of the flying in Australia, the mountains are so small, like they're just little hills and it's mostly flat, that the wind dominates things. But in places like the Alps, you got really steep mountains and the wind just goes over the top, and often it doesn't matter. The wind isn't strong enough to work its way down into the valleys, and you just go to the sunny faces. But somewhere in between is New Zealand, where you can have strong winds, and the mountains aren't quite as big as in the Alps, and there's more spread apart, so you can get a sort of combination of influences. And as we said before, the mountains here are pretty small, so yeah, you won't have valley winds dominating things as much as just the wind getting steered through, channeled through valleys.
In the meantime, behind our backs, we're looking at some pilots from the challenge category approaching the landing. Let's see if maybe we might even have it in frame. So we are looking at Christoph Bakura from the challenge category, possibly coming in second position, as we didn't see anybody else landing before. Okay, actually, he's the last pilot landing from the challenge category. So, how many pilots we had racing today? Yeah. So we're getting news that Moshed is, of course, first, as we saw him landing a few minutes ago, and he's on his way to the Hatta sign. And then we have Milo in second position. And what about Ben? Ben is third. Perfect. And it looks like Aaron launched. He's now soaring the ridge, followed by Nicola Heininger. Looks like they're staying on the
Sunny side.
Yeah, exactly, sunny side. The southwest side. And it looks like they're gliding quite well. Way better than yesterday. Yeah, probably the wind yesterday was definitely stronger.
So ideally, they'll fly to the turn point where the Challengers just flew from 15, 20 minutes ago.
Yep, which we can see on the far top right end of the screen now. And looks like Nicola Heininger is even managing to climb a little bit, whereas Aaron is struggling at the moment. And now more and more pilots are getting airborne. We have Remy Bourdel. We have Damien Lacaze. Damien was one of the guys who yesterday managed to fly from Hatta to the antennas. So he's definitely seen the route already. We'll see if this is going to be an advantage for him today. It looks like Aaron is sinking quite badly there. That's the disadvantage of being the first guy in the air.
Yeah,
You have nobody else to watch.
that's right. Everyone wants to fly second,
Yeah.
except Aaron maybe.
It looks like Remy has also decided to glide out already. As probably the lift is not as good. Whereas Nicola Heininger is still trying to stay up in the air and maybe gain a little bit more altitude together with Damien.
Oh, Damien's with him. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a strong group then. Yeah, for me, I would just stay there in zeros, even if I wasn't going anywhere, because it's better not walking.
Yeah. Well, on a very short race like this one, sometimes running is faster than flying if you have to wait there too long. So
Yep.
we'll see which strategy is paying off better.
Yeah, I don't know how much Aaron cares about the prize money, but he just has to get a reasonable place to stay on top for the 5 tasks.
Yeah, true, but I'm sure he wants to win. For as little as I know him.
Yep. And be pretty impressive if he wins this. Make it 80%
Yeah,
and 100% of the time on the podium.
yeah,
So just two pilots are left the hill, Aaron and Remy.
yeah. Whereas Nicola Heininger and Damien Lacaze are trying to stay up, or together with Lars Perstetter, and Paul Guschelbauer is just shortly behind them. Also, Noé Court, sorry, Noé Court is just a few meters behind this pack, which is trying to push it in flight. Vezo Ovkarov from Bulgaria is just behind them. We'll see if he will manage to climb like the other guys. Yeah, look, looks like looks like Damien got a very good thermal there.
Who's that? Sorry.
I think it's Damien.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, Damien Lacaze.
We need to send the helicopter out for some footage.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, we didn't have any camera on that side of the mountain as it's quite far. And it looks like Aaron and Remy are on the ground, or close to the ground.
They couldn't wait to get back and do some more running, eh?
Yeah, exactly. In this nice temperature.
Well, so it looks like Damien, since he's gained that extra height, even if he went on glide now, he should probably get in front.
Yeah, yeah, it looks he's on his glide now. Damien is currently the highest guy, even if Nicola, Lars, and Noé are a little bit ahead of him. So we'll see how far they will be able to push on their glide out. And coming from the bottom of the screen, we see also Helmut, which took a completely different line. He decided to just go for the straightest line possible, as he probably is not very impressed by the climb rate of the other guys. But in the meantime, look at Thomas Matera. He's found a good thermal there on the ridge.
He's been pretty strong on the ground too.
Yep.
Yeah, it's sort of in between conditions. Like, as we said, it's a fairly short task, and the thermals are there. Like, it could be enough to tempt you to stay around, maybe linger too long and let the others get ahead on the road.
Yeah.
It's not clear what is the best way to go, so
That's also
makes
what
it
makes
interesting.
it, yeah, more interesting.
Yep.
especially for us to follow them. So once again, after um, this flight, the athletes will have to go back to TP1, where our cameramen are currently heading. Hopefully, we'll provide some good live footage from there as well. After TP1, they will have to go back to the starting line. Land back to the starting line and go to the Hatta sign, which is going to be the second to last turn point. And after the Hatta sign, they will try to fly to a big cylinder, 1 kilometer radius, which is around the antenna turn point, and hopefully fly back to the finish line. I mean, it's a very long flight compared to the height of the mountain, so definitely the guys who will make it further will have a big advantage. And as we speak, it looks like Daniel has found a pretty decent line out. Has found a few more bubbles, which kept him quite high, and now he's going to be flying above Aaron's head. One of the worst feeling ever when you're on the ground running and people are flying over your head.
I wonder if he's going to call out to him as you fly. Your canopy can make a bit, what's it called, like a dish to amplify the sound,
Yeah.
to reflect all the sound down there.
Yeah.
What are you doing down there?
But apparently Damien is not the only one who is managing to climb quite well. We're looking at Noé Court also finding a good thermal, and by looking at the drift on the thermals, yeah, it looks like probably the wind is a little bit from the east, but on the sunny side they're protected. So as long as they're below the ridge, they don't have much of that influence, and then as they get higher, they get a little bit more drift. And Thomas Matera has reached the other guys from his very good position. So we have Noé Court, Paul Guschelbauer, Thomas Matera, and Daniel Oberauer in the same thermal. Just a bit ahead of them, there's Lars Merstetter and Nicola Heininger gliding to the town. So they hopefully make it over the town. And look at this head-to-head between Aaron running and Damien flying. I mean, Damien is pretty low already, so he will end very soon. And we'll see if in the time he needs to pack, Aaron will overpass him again or not.
Yeah, it looks like Aaron's got the lead there, but yeah, I was just noticing that where they took off from the antenna, they flew along to the peak is just a little bit higher than the antenna where they're getting the climbs.
Yeah.
And that's usually the best place to avoid the wind because the wind will tend to go around the peaks because it's easier.
Yeah.
And the bigger peaks, you've got the best chance of finding a climb in the sunny lee. We haven't had a lot of luck with our camera feed so far, but
Yeah.
we're keeping an eye on that.
And it looks like Aaron is still keeping his lead. So his decision to go straight for landing and start running was probably a good one compared to Damian, who was indulging a little bit more in thermals, hoping to get a bit more altitude and fly further, which he did, but the time it took him was actually the same. So.
And if we remember the last task, Damien was the one who opted to finish on the road rather than going back up to fly. So
Yeah. So let's go back. In the meantime, you see the middle group with Noé Court, Paul Guschelbauer, Thomas Matera, and Daniel Oberauer managed to climb quite a bit higher than everybody else. And so we'll see if this time spent climbing will pay off on the glide.
It's just before midday here, so the thermals will tend to be lighter. The winds won't be as established, and it's probably a good time to climb, but the climbs are going to be a little bit weaker than the peak thermals the next few hours. Yeah, the sun is at the highest point at the middle of the day here, more or less.
Yeah.
5.5 hours each side of midday is sunrise and sunset.
So as Daniel is packing his glider and getting ready to start running, we have Aaron, which is currently running towards the road and already quite close to the start, followed by Remy Burdell, also running on the road, and Maurice Koller, Helmut Heikholzer, and Nicole Heininger, who just landed just before the town. Lars Merstetter is also following very closely together with Nicola Heininger. But some people managed to make quite a decent height, and from there it may even be possible to fly all the way to the bottom of the 10.1 mountain. That will be a total game changer for this task.
Yeah, one of the ways the fields are having some of the instruments is how many meters you need to climb, given the glide that you expect to get to goal. So you might start with you need 10,000 meters, and you have to do that in various thermals throughout the day. So with the glide they have, I guess they'll be landing ahead of Aaron, but yeah, they got the time to pack, and
Yeah,
I think I'd rather be in the air myself for sure,
for sure.
and the view is much nicer as well.
And
He's leaving thermal, isn't
yeah, yeah,
he? Who's that up the top?
that's Paul Guschebauer.
Okay.
So Paul is leaving the thermal, as well as Thomas Matera just left a few seconds before, and Daniel Brauer is also following.
So Thomas wasn't quite as high, but they both might have felt there was no lift anymore. It's no use turning if you're not gaining altitude,
Yeah.
or if you're going down. If you're in zeros, I'd probably hang around a little longer. But
It's looking like it took Damien quite a long time to pack, as Aaron has already made it to the main road. But now the flock of the other pilots is coming
yep.
with Noé, Thomas, Paul, and Dan. They will probably make it all the way to the start line, or maybe even a little bit further.
Paul Guschebauer is definitely a pilot who's not shy about making his own route. Uh, he's done a lot of Volvivis on his own or with one or two other pilots, and yeah, they're routes that haven't really been done. And he's often flying on his own route in the X-Alps, way off to the side of everyone else, like when he followed the Italian lakes. I think he was one of the only ones, or at least the first one to do that, and other people were well to the north. And when he went up the hill in Jebel Jais, he was taking all kinds of different routes on the ground, wasn't he?
Yeah, true, yeah.
So yeah, we know he's an independent thinker, and he won't necessarily be following the others.
Yeah, and we're looking at the second main group, which is now pretty much almost everybody's airborne by now. I see Pauline Müller, I see Yuji Emoto, I see Michael Wichi, and Peter Bergdold just after their takeoff, as well as Gabriel Jensen, a little bit further ahead on the hill. Whereas Reto Reiser, Stanislav Meyer, Lars Berstetter, um,
Helmut.
yeah, Helmut Heikholzer, they're all either on the ground or close to the ground in the middle of the valley. Also Maurice Koller, Nicola Heininger, Damien. Oh, actually, Damien has started running now.
I'm very interested to see if the guys who got a high climb are going to find another climb in the valley.
Look, we just saw Noé Court landing very close to Aaron, Except Aaron is already running with his backpack, whereas Noe has to park. So we'll see what the other guys are gonna do. If they will make it all the way over the road and to the start. We're looking at them gliding right now. We're still trying to get live footage from the cameras, which are getting into position. Looks like we're having a little bit of luck every now and then. Look at Thomas Matera. He's gonna make it to the dry lake. Actually, what you see here on the map, it looks like a lake, but it's dry. So it's all landable, and there's a road that goes through it, so people will possibly land close to the road and start running. Actually, we're looking at them right behind us, so let's see if we can get it in the frame. That's Thomas Matera, just flying behind us. I don't think it's in the camera yet. Oh yeah, we just saw it in the very um, far left up top left corner.
The Hatta sign is behind.
Yeah. All right, so that gives you an idea of how precise this light tracker is. You know, you're looking at the
Over here.
light tracking. Yeah, and Paul Guschelbauer. Oh no, that's that Dan Oberauer. I think that Dan Oberauer. We're actually looking at them with our own bare eyes, making it into the dry lake.
Looks like you just
Yeah.
got some lift.
Yeah, Thomas got some left.
Trying to get up.
Yeah.
Another one here quite high. Maybe that's Paul.
Yeah, that's Paul. That's Paul over there is 100 meters up, 80 meters higher than the other ones.
Is he turning? Looks like he's sniffing for a thermal.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not an actual thermal, but at least a little bit of lift. That's, you know, every meter you gain gives you an extra 10 meters that you don't have to run. I think both Thomas and Daniel Oberauer just touched the ground, whereas Paul is still flying, as we're looking on the live tracking right now. And as well, Aaron is running, and he will basically reach the start turn point very soon. So we're trying to get some more live footage as quick as possible. All right, and Aaron is just making it now to the start turn point. Followed by Remy Bordel, and Noé Court also landed close to the road, not far from here. Is Paul still flying?
I think I see him on the ground.
Oh yeah, yeah. He just landed very close to the start of the trail.
Yep.
Definitely a very good move.
So he's got some practice over the years of packing his wing quickly, I guess.
Yep.
He should be able to keep that lead. But yeah, Aaron's not too far behind. I mean, as we said, everything's so close together in the air that you might be better off just gliding down and pushing on the road.
And it looks like we're having some live footage from close to the start. So we'll be looking at the athletes landing or running in the dry lake. In the meantime, there must be somebody running up the hill. Let's see who this could be. Oh, that's somebody from the challenge category. That must be either Moshed running up to the Hatta sign. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
that was their second turn point.
Okay.
Yeah. In the meantime, we're looking at Aaron running past the start line and reaching Dan Oberauer, whereas Thomas Matera and Paul Bushibaba landed a little bit further ahead. We're looking at Paul packing his ladder right now. They only have about less than 200 meters elevation, a couple hundred meters elevation to the turn point one takeoff, from which they will then have to glide back down at the start and then go all the way up to the Hatta sign, from which they will have to start and fly back to the antenna cylinder. This time it's going to be a 1 kilometer cylinder, as you can see on the map here. So they only have to tag the cylinder and possibly fly back as close as possible to the finish line. The finish line is an actual cylinder, so if they manage to fly quite high, they can even finish the race flying. But if they land, then of course they have to fill the gap by running. I'm looking at Eddie Egger, also very experienced XC competition pilot, now leaving the mountain with quite a good altitude. So we'll see how far she will be able to glide. Also, Yuji Yamamoto is currently probably the guy who made the highest climb so far, together with Vesa Ovkarov and Pauline Müller, who is really showing an impressive performance, as she has definitely way less experience than all the others, and even flying a glider who is a couple categories lower. Maurice Kohler, Helmut Eichholzer, and Lars Stetter are now running quite close together on the ground, trying to reach Damien Lacaze, who apparently lost quite a lot of time packing from where he landed, and Nicola Heininger. Noé Cord and Remy Burdell are now passing at the starting line very soon. And Aaron has now almost reached Thomas Matera, so the only guy who is still quite ahead in the front is Paul Guschelbauer, who is currently packing his glider. And it looks like he's going to be starting running very soon.
Bit of a breeze coming through the start area now, where we are.
Yep. Definitely getting some more valley breeze. And here is the starting line arch where athletes have to run through before heading to the next turn point. Actually, not through, but close. Yeah. And in the meantime, at the Hatta sign, Mr. Moshed is getting ready. He's currently leading the challenge category by far, and it looks like today will be no difference, as he's way ahead of the rest of the pack on his challenge category route.
So where are they going to go next?
They're going to go back to the antenna, but just
Uh-huh.
take the cylinder and then come back for landing.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's possibly one flight away from his victory in this race. And in the meantime, I think This could be either Remy or Noé getting some water before continuing in his run towards DP1. Look at the speed, how they're running. It's amazing with the glider.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the trouble with hike and fly these days. You have to be too fast on the ground.
yeah,
It's hard for the lazy pilots like that.
yeah. Amoshed is getting ready for launching from the Hatta side. Wind looks really good. Think we lost a bit of the connection, but here's it back again. Here we go. Moshed is off in the air. So he has a few kilometers flying before the next turn point. Hopefully we'll be able to make it, to make some altitude and make it flying. And we're looking at more and more pilots flying over the start line. Let's take a look at who these guys could be. Oh, that must be Eli Egger. Yeah, Eli Egger made it over the start line and is now looking for landing before heading back up to turn point one. It looks like Thomas Matera and Aaron Durigatti are already on their way up. And Paul Guschenbauer again is taking his own route.
I was thinking,
Yeah.
yep, might be slightly more important to stay in the air for the next leg because it's just a little longer. Like
Yep.
it's a long run up the hill and back down again. Although you don't have to go to the very top of the antenna next turn point.
And more people are coming in flying. Yuji Yamamoto from his stratospherical height is going to be gliding all the way next to the to turn point one for sure. And followed by Vezo, Nicola Donini as well. I mean, I think he took it a little bit slow on the hike. He was not pushing too hard, but now that he's flying, he's definitely in his environment, and as long as the conditions are quite strong, he can be really, really fast. So Pauline Muller is also flying side by side with Nicola Donini, and shortly after we have Sebo Spina and Melina Vinci also coming on their glide with quite a bit of altitude. Melina is a little bit lower, so I don't know if she will make it to the dry lake, but we will see. In the meantime, most of the people are running along the valley. We have Gabriel Jensen, Michael Witchy, Reto Reiser, and Peter Bergdold on their way to the start turn point. Yeah, I believe Eli Egger just landed.
Uh-huh.
And we're looking at who looks like Veso Ovkarov, also gliding in the middle of the dry lake. Let's see if we can catch him in our camera, but it doesn't look like so. Let's see if our ground camera, more people coming, passing by running. That must have been Damien Lacaze, who just passed by the starting arch before heading to turn point one. And we're looking at what I believe is Veso Ovkarov gliding as far as possible flying as far as possible and as close to turn point one as possible. And we're looking at more people from the challenge category hiking up to the Hatta sign. Again, after turn point one, this is the same turn point where the pro athletes will have to go. It looks like Vezo is trying to make it all the way to the launch. Let's see if it will make it.
So looking at the weather today, it does seem that later in the afternoon the thermal should be getting up to 2,000 meters, so high enough to glide this whole course easily. But often in the morning the thermals have to break through some inversion so they don't get quite that high. But as the next flight's going to be a little bit later, there might be a possibility to take the thermals just a little higher.
Yeah. Trying to wake up the cameras again, but apparently with no main result. In the meantime, we're looking at Maurice Koller taking some water and going on his running journey to the next turn point. Again, we're looking at a few pilots coming quite high from their crossing, and now they're all going for the landing as close as possible to TP1. I don't know if somebody will be crazy enough to try and top land up there. I mean, the place is really, really small. Yuji Emoto came in with a stratospherical height. He even had to spiral down a little bit. In the meantime, the hiking guys, Thomas and Aaron, are also close to the turn point one. I'm not sure whether this is going to be valid. Like, I think Veso made it flying. He just flew above the takeoff and went away.
That's the way to do it. That's
yeah.
what I like to see. I'm always begging for the lazy pilots.
Yeah. I don't know if that.
So they say laziness is a sign of intelligence. Huh?
Right. Yeah. I totally agree. So let me quickly check with the race judge whether this is allowed or not today.
To land.
So apparently the rules allow to make TP1 in flight. So it looks like Vezo pulled out his move here and is again landing as close as possible to the start, where he actually going to land very soon here at the start, and there is the only place where they have to sign. Interesting. So I don't know if Yuji realized that as he was spiraling down.
Well, maybe Aaron won't win this one, but we've still got a few legs.
Yeah. I mean, the race is still long, and again, after Hatta, it's going to be the longest leg probably to fly there. It's not very easy, so if some people may make it, then they will definitely have a very big advantage. But yeah, so far,
Yeah, so basically now he's back at the start,
yes, and he has to hike to the Hatta sign.
Hatta, and from there he can fly to within a kilometer of the antenna and then back to the finish.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, gotta be happy with that.
Oh, for sure. He was not really motivated in the last few days. He was quite tired, and it was not a very good race for him in the first few toss. So I'm sure he would be happy to finish this one in a better position.
Yeah, he was talking about using a camel as transport in the social media for the last task
Yeah.
in the lead up to the last task.
And we're looking at Nicola Donini using the same strategy as Vezo. So he made it fly into TP1 and is now gliding back to the start. So it's currently apparently in second position.
It does seem that the conditions in the air are improving a little bit as time goes on because the later pilots have been able to make most of them. I mean, the first pilots, I'm sure they would have taken it if they could, like they're good pilots. So it's possible you might miss something if you're
Yeah,
flying on your own, especially. But
sure. But I'm not sure that every pilot had really clear that they could actually tag jump point one in flying, as most of them were actually spiraling down to land close to the start of the trail. We're looking at Nicola Donini gliding back to the start, following Vezo's move. What an interesting task this turned out to be.
yeah,
Yeah. We think that Yuji, who was actually the highest pilot a few minutes ago, managed to top land on the takeoff, as he probably thought you had to actually touch the ground in that turn point, which apparently is not the case. But now we can see we're looking at him gliding away from the mountain again, so is probably currently in third position. This is the beauty of hike and fly. You know, sometimes you just make the right move at the right moment and you overpass 10 people.
hmm
But in the meantime, also the running machines like Thomas Matera and Aaron Dragatti together with Paul Guschelbauer and Seb Ospina made it flying for sure. But yeah, the running machines also made it to the TP1, so they will be the next ones um, taking off from TP1 probably. There still might be a bit of a gaggle on the takeoff. It's a very, very small place, and that part of the reason why the organization decided to put the antenna turn point first to try and have more separation between the pilots, and especially on this TP1. But apparently this didn't work out as well, as you know, many of them are coming at the same time. But
Well, if they manage to get in the air, that should make it easier for them for hunting.
yeah, it's like also Aaron is in the air now.
You can see a whole bunch of them behind us.
And it looks like Nicola Donini even made it to overpass Veso. Oh no, it looks like Veso already made it to the start and is starting his oh, it looks like Veso didn't sign on the board, so yeah, he has to actually come back and sign the board. So
Oh no.
possibly there's a chance for Nicola to pass him and everybody else as well, like Yuji is coming and Seb Ospina, Paul Guschelbauer and Aaron are all gliding to the start turn point for the signature. And they will meet there with Gabriel Jensen, with Mikkel Witchy that are still coming from Antenna turn point on their way to the TP1. In the meantime, at the Hatta sign, we are waiting for who will be the first, or who will be the first guys to make it to the second to last turn point, from which they will have then to take off and try and fly as long as they can to the cylinder back at the antenna.
The trouble with these tasks, like typical in cross-country competitions as well, there's lots of turn points and it's very technical. You got to make sure you get all the details right. I know I was penalised in one of the X-Alps for having the wrong waypoint in my thing. I thought I'd tagged it, the turn point, but I hadn't, so I had a 3-hour penalty on the second day of the X-Alps.
Yeah.
Yeah, in some ways I like the races where it's just like, okay, go to Mont Blanc, a few hundred kilometers away. It's pretty simple. You're not going to miss it.
Now we're looking at Aaron landing together with Paul Guschelbauer. Very close to the start. They will rush for the signature and then start running back towards Hatta sign. In the meantime, also Thomas Matera took off, and the Moreno Parmesan is coming after tagging 0.1. It's coming for the landing. Also, Dan Oberauer possibly took off or is in the process of launching. And also Noé Court and Remy Burdell, together with Nicola Heininger, are now queuing on TP1 to take off. Soon after, Eli Egger and Damien Lacaze will reach a takeoff, followed by Lars Merstetter, Helmut Heikolzer, and Pauline Müller, which is now just after the beginning of the trail. So Veso apparently is on his run towards Hatta, but we got information that he didn't sign at the
Oh, he's just double back on the tracking, is it?
yeah, he's back into 0.1, but let me just make a quick check with the judge. So let's take a look at the situation right now. We have, I think Nicola Donini and Aaron are now close to each other, and they're running up to the Hatta sign. I'm not sure whether Nicola Donini did sign the board on TP1 or not, so maybe we'll have actually to go back up to TP1 and sign, which is what Nicola signed. Looks like. Okay, so he top landed and took off again. So it looks like Nicola signed the board. So they are now together, currently going to the Hatta sign, which is the second to last turn point before flying all the way to the antenna cylinder back to the finish line.
And Vaso is the one who we saw fly past it. So where's Vaso now?
Is just a little bit ahead of them on a climb. So let's see if we get a little bit luckier with cameras. Here we go. We are at the starting line, and we are currently looking at, I think this is Damien Lacaze landing.
Yeah, I
And
believe it is.
yeah,
So I saw someone thermaling over the start a few minutes ago. Pretty low, but managing to get a climb slowly. So
yeah, the
it's
condition,
encouraging.
yeah, exactly, looks encouraging. So I think we'll witness a very interesting second half of the race. As you can see, the wind is pretty strong. I mean, I wouldn't say strong, but definitely on a strongish side. I'm looking at Noé Court, and let's see who else is with him.
So Damien's next move is Hatta, and from there he'll need to go within a kilometer of the antenna and back to the finish.
Yeah, exactly. And in the meantime, there was Noé and Nicola Heininger running towards TP1. I think they made TP1 already, and now they're gonna run as well to Hatta.
Now, how is Paul Schubert doing? Because he was in the lead for a moment, but
So let's go back to the live tracking and let's look for him. Yeah, he's again on his own different route. He made it. He made it to TP1 and start, and now he's taking a shortcut to the Hatta sign. And apparently Moreno landed at the Hatta sign, but he for sure didn't make it back to the landing field. So I don't know what his plan is, but from there I think he still has to go to turn point one to sign and then fly down to the finish line. But he probably decided to land as high as possible to avoid hacking so much. Yeah, it's quite hard with this crisscrossing kind of routes to actually remember who is in the first leg, who is in the second leg, and so on. But we're looking at
potentially some of the athletes are confused as well.
yeah, apparently yes, Helmut Eicholzer and Pony Müller and let's see who in the middle was in the middle here. Maurice Koller. These three guys are all at TP1 ready to launch. Just shortly after, Stanislas Meyer, Gabriel Jensen, and Vezo Ovkarov, who probably has to go back to TP1 to sign, they are gonna reach the TP1 really soon. Vezo also signed. Okay, so Vezo is currently leading the race. Interesting. Okay, we got information that Vezo also signed at TP1. They came in flying, they top landed, signed aboard, and took off again. Impressive. Also, Sebaspina did the same. So now we currently have Veso Ovkarov then leading on his way to Hatta, and now that we are on a steeper ground, Aaron Dragatti is slowly but surely gaining terrain over him, and Nicola Donini in third position, trying to keep pace with Aaron.
So as for what's going on in this race, I said potentially the athletes are a little confused, but maybe it's just us.
Yeah, maybe just that's true. But funnily enough, as these guys have to go the same route twice, I mean, the top three athletes are not gonna meet the guys who are, one loop behind them.
Yep.
So
So can we see the placings again, the overall placings so far?
yeah, sure. Um, so basically, the current overall ranking is looking at Aaron with 6 points and Lars with 16 points.
Okay.
So I mean, Aaron
And
is
Lars would have to be more than 10 places ahead
exactly.
of Aaron to win overall.
Exactly. And at the moment, we're looking at, let's see, yeah, and the guys were without him right now. Nicola and Vezo are quite in the back in the overall ranking. So I would say there's no chance for them to, attack Aaron's fair position in today's task.
Of course, it would be good to get onto the podium for today.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we do have some live footage. Not really. Let's see if we can wake the camera up a little bit. Looks like everywhere we go here in the UAE, we have poor connection, apparently. Um, but in the meantime, what's not never failing is our uh, trusted live tracking system with relief maps. And we're looking at Aaron just overpassing Veso on the climb. No surprise.
Vesa probably wants him to show him where the thermals are anyway, hey?
No,
Part of the strategy.
exactly. And somehow Moreno is flying over the Hatta sign. I don't know if he got a little bit confused about the task, because he made TP1 but didn't land back at the start yet. And next on launch should be Podium, currently leading the women category. And Maurice Collar just took off on his way to start. In the meantime, we have Eli Edgar coming back from TP1, Helmut Heikolzer, and Yuji Yamamoto as well. Yuji was very high before TP1, but apparently he didn't make it to top land there and decided to land back, and so he had to hike back up again.
There's gliders everywhere, crisscrossing the valley, and the tasks are going backwards and forwards, but there's two different tasks which are completely different. So who knows what's going on looking out the window? But yeah, as we said, lucky we've got the relief maps.
Yeah, definitely our best tool to follow the race from here. And as well, if you want to do the same from your home, you can just click in the link down in the video description below and access the direct website, the Relief Map website, or download the app and follow the action live from your home. And as well, if you're not yet doing it, remember that you should follow us on Instagram at UAE Hike&Fly Championship to get access to all sort of very high quality content as well as behind the scenes of the life of the athletes here in Dubai, even outside of the op race days. And today is very sadly our last day here, as tomorrow most people will have their flight back home. So hopefully the pilots will find today's task a good, interesting closure of the whole race. I mean, we kind of underestimated Paul's orienteering capabilities, as he is currently on a trail, a shorter trail up to Hatta waypoint. So probably he is the one leading at the moment.
And has
And
Moreno flown back to turn point one, has he?
I'm sorry?
Moreno, the Italian.
Yeah, it looks like he flew back to 2.1, yes.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Maybe he just landed at Hatta to have a look at his map.
Yeah. And I'm looking at Daniel Oberauer as well on a different route to the Hatta turn point. So we'll see at the end which one is paying off better between Aaron Vesso and Nicolo Donini's route compared to Paul or Daniel Oberauer. In the meantime, we see Pauline Müller taking off from TP1, and behind her, I assume either Moreno or Stanislav will be the next pilot in the air. It looks like Bauer is getting very close to the Hatta turn point, so it'll probably be the first one to get there. And at the finish line, sorry, at the start line, I think we are looking at Maurice Koller, who just landed after signing at TP1, and so he has now to go back up to the Hatta sign before hoping to fly all the way to the antenna again. I'm trying to see who is there with Maurice. could be Helmut, or it could be Yuji.
So there's a little bit of cirrus above us today, but no clouds to speak of. No thunderstorms today.
And back on the live track, we are looking at the last pilots making it after the antennas. So we have Peter Bergdold currently in last position, and Melina Vinci close to the starting line. So she will be the next one to make it, the second to last to make it to the starting line, and then she will have to go up to the TP1 for the signature. TP1, where I would say most of the pilots are currently right now. Except for Paul Buschelbauer, who has almost made it to the Hatta sign. Let's see if we have any live footage from the Hatta, hopefully. Just trying to wake the camera up again. Not really. So we keep following on the live track. Aaron's not far behind. No? I mean, it might look quite big on the live track, but the mountain is actually quite small. So from one side to the other, it's only a matter of minutes.
So where's Vaso now?
This is Nicola, and this is Vezo up here.
Uh-huh.
It looks like he took a different route. We'll see if the athletes will decide to take off straight from the Hatta sign or maybe walk a little bit higher in order to get some more altitude before getting airborne. And it looks like Eli Egger is also running toward the Hatta sign, following either Dan's or Paul's routes. So she's currently leading the female ranking of today's race, today's task. But shortly after, Pauline Muller, I think she just landed or is about to land close to the starting line. And so she's following Eli quite closely. Looks like Dan is also in a very good position right now. Dan Oberauer, Daniel. And we'll see who was going to be first in turn point between him and Aaron. Let's see if we have anybody coming in for the start turn point before heading to the Hatta sign. And we have some live footage from Gabriel Jensen. Looks like taking off from TP1.
Excellent control.
Yeah, it's definitely not the easiest takeoff, the easiest launch in place I've seen.
Nice breeze though.
And we're looking at more people getting ready. This looks like Stanislav from the helmet. He's also having quite a hard time recognizing everybody. And that's Vezo Okarov. So apparently he got back to TP1, so maybe he didn't sign. Let's see it. Let's look at Stanislav taking off. Oh no, sorry, wrong helmet. That's not Stanislav. That's Michael Ricci. Now that we saw him better.
So he hasn't put on his down jacket for the flight.
I wonder why. Again, not the easiest launching spots, but I was definitely prepared with some nice carpets to help protect the glider and the lines from the sharp rocks. There we go, Wichi. Nice control. Apparently some kind of karate, and he's off. Nicely done. So let's check this back on the situation. We look at Paul Guschelbauer, who decided to walk past the Hatta sign and go for a higher takeoff. And Aaron Dragatti is following him quite closely. And Daniel Brauer is just a few seconds behind Aaron. Also, Nicola Donini has been left back quite a bit from Aaron, but he's on his way to the Hatta sign. Closely followed by Nicola Heininger and Thomas Matera, whereas René Brudel decided to take a lower path, more similar path to
Paul.
It looks like Aaron's or Paul's,
Okay.
yeah. Eli Egger and Eli Eichholzer as well on their way to Hatta. So if the wind conditions are on the pilot side, I would say that it will be not so long before the end of the race. I mean, till the first one makes it to goal.
Mm-hmm. Yep, they're climbing up above the Hatta sign to maximize the chances of getting a thermal because that's the quickest way.
And you can see the traverse is quite impressive compared to the height of the mountains. So they will definitely need to climb as much as possible and hopefully find some more lift on their way. And I think who we're looking at right now. Okay, so what we're looking at now is Milo Down, who made it first at goal for the challenge category by overtaking Moshed flying. So basically, he managed to fly when Moshed had to land, and so he made it to goal as the first pilot of the challenge category. And we're looking at Michael Wichi coming from TP1 and going for landing as close as possible to the starting turn point. There he goes. So by going back at the situation on the mountain here, yeah, it still looks like Powell is leading in first position, and then Aaron and Dan are just a few meters behind him. But we'll see once they take off, it will be a different story. And I think we're looking at Veso Ovkarov, who went for his TP1 sign and is now landing close to the start before heading to Hatta. He got a little bit confused as he thought he could do the TP1 only by taking it in flight, but we got definite confirmation that you had to actually stop and sign on takeoff. So Veso had to climb back up on TP1 to sign and fly back down to the start. This mistake made him lose quite a few positions as he was, without this mistake, it would be first one at that moment.
So I'm looking for pilots taking off above Hatta. They must be about to get in the air.
Yeah. And it looks like Nicola Heiniger, Remy Burdel, and Thomas Matera over to Nicola Donini, who was before that in fourth position. Then we have Lars Merstetter, who is currently second in the overall ranking, who is quite far behind the head group.
So less of a threat to Aaron then.
Yeah. Together with Damien Lacaze, who is currently third. So his main two contestants are left quite far behind. We're looking at Moreno Parmesan from Italy, soon coming for landing. And currently we're looking at Veso touching the ground. And the guy walking looked like Gabriel Jensen. And that looks like Moreno Parmesan from Italy coming in for landing after TP1. So he's following the group up to the Hatta sign. And again, here we're looking at Moreno Parmesan from Italy landing after TP1 and getting ready to go on his way for TP Hatta. TP Hatta, where at the moment we're looking at Paul Guschelbauer first in the air. He managed to climb quite quickly, apparently. And Aaron Durgatti and Dan Oberauer are just behind him, so they will probably follow him shortly.
And we've just spoken to Milo, who's just won the Challenger category. He'll be coming to have a chat with us soon.
And we just got also confirmation that Peter Bertold decided to stop today's task. He just made it back to the headquarters and is going to take some very well-deserved rest before hopefully giving us a little bit of an insight of today's race for him. And Aaron Durgatti has just got airborne as well. It looks like Paul Guschelbauer is definitely climbing, not super quickly, but steadily. We're Yeah, we are looking at both of the pilots. We see them from our position here. They are soaring the backside of the mountain as we expected, but they're definitely going to make a little bit more altitude before pushing out towards the next turn point. Next turn point, which again is going to be that big cylinder close to the antenna where they had to go this morning. And now more and more pilots made it to the Hatta sign, including Nicola Heininger, including Remy Burdell, um, Nicola Donini, and Seb Ospina will make it also soon. I think Nicola Heininger and Remy Burdell took off from a different place. Yep, they tried the flying way. They found a different spot to take off quite closer to the turn point, and hopefully they will be able to climb from there. I mean, Paul and Aaron are already in the air, so they're already ahead, but Dan Oberauer is still on the ground, so maybe this move will let them move past him. It looks like Nicola and Remy made it around the hill, but yesterday, when people did like this, you could just barely make it to the start line again. Aaron and Paul, in the meantime, are climbing decently well. So we'll see what the guys behind them will decide to do. And Remy and Nicola Heininger are currently pushing out in the valley. They're quite low.
The guys up the top just seem to be soaring the breeze at the moment, though. But if they're up there, they can look for any thermal that's coming through.
Yeah. It looks like they're getting something though, here in the middle of the valley.
But they're not like thermaling, are they? They're just going around exploring.
Nicola Heininger just got a decent one. He's behind the column now, so maybe you don't see him. Yeah, there he goes. Yeah, once again, the choice is push it sooner out and try to run as fast as you can, or try and make as much height as you can to try and finish the race by flying. And once again, thank you guys for interacting with us on the live comments. We didn't keep an eye on that for a bit, but we are ready to answer your questions. So, hi, Manuel. Yeah, it looks a little bit confusing, like every time when the races are crisscrossing, same turn points a couple times. It makes it a little bit more confusing sometimes, but at the end, except from Veso, everybody else had it really right. And so we can go through the task one more time if you guys just started following. So basically, this was today's race. The guys had to go to start running.
This is for the main category, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
For the pro category, they had to run to the antenna takeoff, which was about 6 kilometers away from the start, and then from there fly back as far as they could, possibly past the start line to TP. So they had to pass over the start line and then sign at TP1. So at TP1 I had to land or hike, then land back at the start and go to the Hatta sign, which currently most of the people are. And then from the Hatta sign, they can fly all the way to the big cylinder around the antenna turn point and back to the finish line. So currently we have the leading pack flying over the Hatta sign mountain, and they will soon push out to the flatland, hoping to make it to the cylinder turn point. Only Nicola Heininger and Remy Bordel try to push out as soon as possible from the mountain. Probably they thought it was not very easy to climb and fly all the way to the turn point, so they currently landed around the starting line and will now start running towards the main big cylinder. In the meantime, Paul Büschelbauer, Aaron Drogati, and Daniel Overauer are quite high above the mountain top.
Thank you.
So we'll see when they will decide that that's enough to push out towards the flat. And looks like a couple more pilots are joining them. It looks like Nicola Donini and Noé Court, possibly.
Yeah, I can see 5 of the ridge,
Yeah,
but there's a few ones that are too many of the lower ones, higher ones that seems they're just looking for something. Maybe going and glide for another place to look for a thermal at the moment.
yeah. In the meantime, Thomas Matera has made the same decisions as Nicola Heininger and Remy Burdell to push out as soon as possible. And you can see that most of the pilots are now heading towards Hatta, including Eli Egger, uh, Daniel Lacaze, Helmut Eichholzer, Lars Merstetter, Maurice Koller, all the way up to the Hatta turn point. And I believe Aaron is the first one of the pack who is trying to push out with a decent height. I don't think that's enough to make it to the turn point, but hopefully we'll find some more lift on his way out.
Yeah, they spent a bit of time where they were and they weren't able to get any higher, so I guess they're trying to find something else on the way.
Yeah. And Thomas Matera found a little thermal, a little bit lower and further out.
Really, yeah.
Yeah.
So it could be that he's being seen by the guys above and they're trying to fly to his thermal and catch it from above.
Yeah, could be. So now we have a completely opposite situation as this morning, where Aaron is flying above Remy and Nicola Heininger, who pushed out before him. Whereas this morning, Aaron was the first guy to push out and had Damien and a few other guys flying over his head. Looks like Aaron also found some lift. And now the gaggle is getting a bit more tight on the next group of pilots flying above the mountain. We'll see whether Aaron made a good move to push out earlier, or if the group will be more efficient and catch him up. I'm trying to reset the pilot's tracks so that we don't have such a spaghetti mess. And you can see Aaron is still climbing, and he actually found a good thermal that's even drifting him towards the turn point. In the meantime, on the ground, Nicola Heininger is running along the road, followed by Remy Burdell, and Aaron will quite soon overpass them flying.
Yeah, weak climbs that are drifting, a good win. It's in the task direction, that's for sure.
Yep. Paul Guschelbauer as the second guy starting his push outwards in the flatland. Is probably a little bit higher than what Aaron was 2 minutes ago. And I believe uh, Noé Court is also following them, but even a little bit lower, still lower.
Yeah.
And we're looking at a few pilots in the air right now. We have uh, Seb Ospina, Nicola Donini, and Daniel Oberauer above the top of the mountain, still trying to climb a little bit more before pushing out. In the meantime, Aaron made another little
Made a bigger climb over the flats.
yeah, definitely. And as fast as Nicola Henninger can run, of course, flying is always more efficient, so we'll see. But Paul Guschelbauer is also following very shortly behind Aaron.
And we can see from the thermal drift that the last flying leg coming back, you won't, well, if you're taking weak thermals, you're going to be going backwards.
What's that, sorry?
Oh, just the return leg, they're going to be into wind.
Yeah, yeah. And we're looking at Noé Court just flying above our heads right now. It's quite low, so I don't know if he will find the same lift that Aaron found. And also Paul Guschelbauer is a little bit higher, but it's gonna hit Aaron's thermal soon. We'll see if it's still there. Very interesting task, with weak flying conditions, difficult traverses, lots of strategy involved.
Yep.
Yeah. We'll see many overpasses and, people
Sure,
in
yeah.
last position coming in first and then going back to the last. And hello, Ildar from Kazakhstan. We're happy to see you here. Interesting how perfectly positioned this thermal was with the wind and the turn point, Aaron is taking full advantage of it. And I think more and more pilots are pushing out now from the Hatta sign mountain, including Nicola Donini, Daniel Oberauer, and Seb Ospina. Looks like everybody else, except from Aaron, is kind of gliding down.
Yeah.
And incredibly enough, Aaron is the only guy who found this thermal and is basically climbing towards the turn point.
He's lured a few along to look for it, but he's put them on a deck.
Yeah. And we see Noé Court and Paul Guschelbauer gonna quite low toward the turn point. We'll see if they will make it or if they will find some lift as well. It looks like Noé is approaching his landing, and maybe also Paul.
So you think, Aaron, you might have thought that he was taking the most risk by pushing out, but that's where the thermal was in the valley. Like they couldn't find it over the peak. They were just soaring it and not really gaining any height after the first
Yeah.
lift to get above the height of the mountain.
Well, look at this. This is incredible. We'll see if Nick Donini and Dan Oberauer, who are gonna approach the same spot where Aaron was climbing soon, if they will find the same or not. I'm looking at Nicola Donini right now, and it looks like it's gliding, but not really gaining altitude at all. I know the pilots are quite spread along the course. There's let's go and check out the tail of the group. Oh, and look at Sebospina. He also finds some good lift in the valley
Oh
in the
wow!
meantime. Yeah.
Sometimes the valley works better because, especially if it's kind of rough terrain, it's not super smooth down here. The air can be trapped in pockets and heat up more, whereas on the peaks it might have wind blowing all the hot air away before it gets a chance to heat up too much.
So let's go back towards the tail of the pack. We're looking at Melina on TP1, ready for launch, and Reto Reiser. I don't know if I saw him kiting just close to the TP. I don't know if he landed down there or if he still has to go up, but it looks like he has been up already. So, and then we have Moreno, Parmesan, and Veso of Karov on their way to Hatta, with Gabriel Jensen and Michael Witchy just a bit before them. Pauli Muller also almost made it to the Hatta sign, whereas Damien Lacaze and Lars Merstetter are about to launch, probably on the lower takeoff behind the Hatta sign. Well, it looks like maybe they bombed out on the other side and are coming back up again.
Mm.
Could be, yeah.
Who are we looking at there?
Damien Lacaze and Lars Merstetter,
Mm-hmm.
currently number 3 and 2 in the overall ranking. But as we speak, Aaron is getting higher and higher in his thermal.
Looks like you'd have to make a pretty serious mistake not to win the task at the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he's getting, if he can, he'll get it on glide from this thermal. Like he's staying in this thermal as long as he
And I mean,
can. It's drifting the right way, so why not?
exactly. And possibly making as max altitude as he can in order to even glide back.
Exactly, yep. Last thermal of the flight, probably.
Yeah. But again, behind him, Dan Oberauer and Nicola Donini are actually Nick also got some good lift, and Sebo Spina as well. So as Nicola Heininger and Noé Court, Remy Burdell, everybody is now kind of struggling on the road. I think also Paul Guschelbauer has landed already. So this leaves an open space for Nicola Donini and Sebo Spina to overpass them.
All right, we're just trying to get an interview with Milo, who won the challenger category. Grab a seat.
All right, so we are having Milo here with us. He won today's task in the challenge category. So Milo, do you want to talk about your race a little bit?
Yeah. Hello. Well, everything started with a running race, and in the beginning there was no thermals. After it, we went to the Hatta turn point. We took off. I wasn't lucky in the beginning. After it, I cashed a low save here next to the finish line, went all the way to 1,000 meters, and continued the flight in the air, while the others had to hike and continue it by hiking.
Interesting, yeah, because we're watching a lot of tracking, and a lot of the pilots they got above the hill where Hatta is,
Yeah.
but didn't really make any more progress in hanging around. So they actually all got their climbs from the valley.
Yesterday, today it's not like yesterday. In the
hmm
training yesterday, we had some nice thermals there. We went up. It was good. Today it was different. It was here in the flat,
hmm
and yeah, I made it.
Well done.
Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Milo, and congratulations for winning today's challenge category task. So he managed to steal the crown from Mr. Moshed, who has won all the other tasks in the challenge category.
Has he really?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I mean, the challenge category didn't do the building on the first day, so they did Jebel Yanas, Jebel Jays, and Al Faya. So they did 3 tasks, and today was the fourth and last task for them.
Uh-huh.
In the meantime, we're looking at Aaron making it to the turn point and flying back. Is still climbing as a very good glide. He's pushing it. I mean, I can see we can just keep watching, but he's basically made it as
Yep.
first already. Hopefully we'll have some live footage of him coming in for landing. But the surprise is that just behind him, Seb Ospina and Nicola Donini did find the same thermal as he took and are currently flying towards the turn point. So it might be their chance to overpass the guys on the ground. So Paul Guschenbauer, Nicola Heininger, Remy Burdell, which is quite far in the back yet still. Noé Court, Dan Oberauer, and Thomas Matera.
So who did you say was climbing? Seb
And Donini.
Nick. So
Yeah.
for the podium, by the looks of it.
Yeah. They have a good chance of getting in the podium, yes.
Yeah, and earlier in the like I don't know how long ago now, less than an hour, I saw someone climbing from pretty low just above the start here. So
Yeah.
that seems to be the place for the thermals today.
Yeah, it looks like the street, like the main road is the trigger point where thermals are forming, or maybe even the dry lake. I'm looking at the cameraman getting in position for Aaron's landing. And again, thank you very much for watching. And if you're sticking so long with us, thank you even more. We've been almost 2.5 hours into the race, and the race time will be up anyways at 4:30 local time. So that will be 1:30 Europe time, Central Europe. And by the shouting from the landing place, I assume we will be seeing Aaron landing quite shortly. Again, the finish line is a cylinder that the athletes can tag in flight or walking. So I assume Aaron just tagged the turn point, the finish line turn point, so we can officially say that he was the first one to make it to goal today.
Is he going to fly back towards Dubai? Is he? Or
Towards where?
Dubai?
Yeah,
No,
nice.
just tag the finish.
Instead of taking the bus back, you know.
Oh, good. So it's a battle between Seb and Nick for second place then?
I would say so, yeah. And it looks like Seb made the turn point and is flying back. Nick as well, but it's quite lower. So we'll see if he pushed a little bit too hard too soon. I'm trying to see if we can catch Aaron landing. Our cameraman is getting into position, trying to catch him. Yeah, that's Aaron. Here it comes. He's quite high above the finish line. So, I mean, the race is already over for him. He won, but he can have a little bit of fun before landing for sure.
Yeah, if you can see that you're in the lead, there's no harm in getting higher and higher. And yeah, so no point trying to get as close as you can with the height. You might as well come in as high as you can.
Yeah. We can see Aaron doing some nice wing overs to get closer to the ground and to land close to the starting arch. And here we go, Aaron landing close to the restaurant where we are located today. And with this officially signing his victory today. So fourth victory out of 5 tasks in this UAE Hike&Fly Championship. Impressive. And I think we're looking at Seb Ospina flying back. I don't know if he will make it all the way back to here, but he's definitely in a
Easy.
very good position. Yeah. But in the meantime, it looks like Nicola Danini made a little bit of a slip there and pushed a little bit too fast and too soon to the turn point, and is now struggling to keep his height. So we'll see. This will be interesting now to see if he managed to climb back up, and if it will be faster for him than for Thomas Matera and Paul Buschelbauer that are currently already running back.
Yep.
They already made the turn point and are running back to the finish line.
So Seb will be happy to be in the podium. He just missed out on an L-Flyer task, and he thought that was probably his best chance because it was the task where there was, it was most reliant on how you performed in the air, as Aaron did very well. But this has come up with the goods for him.
Yeah, I think at the end, the decisions, the changes that were made yesterday night were very good for the overall success of today's task, as it has become a more flyable and more strategic task for sure. So we're looking at Seb, yeah, as you said, easily making it back to the finish line. Yeah, there he goes. We can see him with our own eyes.
He's cruising in.
Yep.
No wing over so far.
Yeah, I mean, he had to make it efficiently back, and we can see him, yeah, a little bit tiny here in this camera view. So we're looking at Seb Ospina from Colombia, 34 years old, coming in for second place in today's fifth task of UAE Hike&Fly Championship in Hatta, Dubai. And as Seb is approaching his landing, we are also watching other pilots coming in from either TP1, I assume that's Melina Vinci, landing at the start after TP1, and as well as other pilots like, I think that's Damien Lacaze, and we'll see who the other one is, who are currently on their way to the last turn point. Yeah, that was Damien, and the other one could be either Moreno or somebody that we lost on a tracker. And let's go back to see how Nick Donini is doing. I struggled for a little bit, still flying.
At least there's no one threatening his position at the moment, as long as he stays in the air. So.
Well, I mean, there's Paul Buschelbauer and Thomas Matera running back.
I'll push you on the ground.
Yeah, so this will be very tight. I mean,
but he can, like,
yeah, he can still
probably
push.
Can't see him actually. I don't know if he's aware that they're there.
No, I don't think so. I mean,
he's
not aware of him, but I don't know if Donini can see them. But again, his flight is now into the wind, and so even his glide will not be as efficient.
Yep.
And as well, if he lands before the finish line, he still has to pack and start running. So.
Yep. So it's definitely worth him to try and make it in by the air rather than land, because then he definitely won't gain any paces.
In the meantime, also Noah Court is making the turn point by running, so he will soon turn around and start running towards the finish line. We're looking at Melina Vinci landing after her TP1. So she still has to go all the way up to Hatta sign and then to the last turn point. Looks like Nicola is doing quite good now, gained some altitude. And looks like Maurice Koller is on his way running towards the last turn point before the finish line as well. Remy Bordel, I think he's been here for a while now, so either maybe he stopped the race or I don't know, he landed quite a while back. Or either we lost his tracker. So we're currently looking, at Aaron came in first and Seb Ospina came in second with a very nice flying part in the second half of the race. And Thomas Matera and Paul Gushibauer are currently running towards the finish line, so they could possibly be third and fourth, unless Niccolo Donini, who was flying above their heads, managed to gain enough altitude to glide to the goal and overpass them flying. Noé Court is following just after. He already made the last turn point and is also running back to the finish line. Whereas Daniel Oberauer, oh, sorry, I said his name the whole time. It's Nicola Heininger together with Paul Gushibauer, whereas Thomas Matera and Daniel Oberauer are still running to the last turn point before the finish line.
Oh, okay, yep.
Yeah. Yeah, the profile picture looked quite similar, so it was a bit confusing. Looks like Niccolo Donini is making it, is climbing right now. And from the back, we have Lars Merstetter, also gliding out from Hatta on a good, decent height. We'll see if it will be enough to catch some more thermals and fly to the last turn point and coming back. And yes, this last Moji, he flew back. Both Aaron Drogati and Seb Ospina managed to fly back. And again, in this kind of zigzag races, funnily enough, we have people running for the third or fourth place that are running by or meeting the people maybe in 10th or 12th position who are running on the other way.
Mm-hmm.
So let's keep an eye on Nick. Nick Donini is climbing quite steadily now. Has made already quite a nice altitude. So I'm sure as soon as he will feel like that's enough, he will push it full bars on landing field, and we'll see who's going to make it first between him and Nicola Heininger. So two Nicolas running for third place. Finish. Oh, all right. So
We didn't see you on the tracking.
all right, so we just saw, surprise, surprise, we just saw Yuji Emoto coming in after finishing his race. We lost his tracking at a certain point, so we couldn't see him flying, but apparently he made it in third position after Seb Ospina and Aaron Drogati. So very well done, Yuji.
Come and have a chat.
So at this point, the Nicolas battle is going to be for the fourth place. It looks like Nicola Donini has started his push towards the finish line. I mean, the others are pretty close, but between a very good runner and any average pilot, there's no race. Like,
There's a radius though around the finish, isn't there?
there's a radius, yeah.
Yeah. What's the radius?
500 meters.
Okay.
So basically, the finish line is at the start line, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah. So now our cameraman is getting ready back at the start/finish line. So we will be seeing who's going to come fourth between Nicola Donini and Nicola Heininger. Nicola Donini is currently gliding above the other guys' heads, whereas Nicola Heininger and Paul Guschelbauer are running at a steady pace towards the finish line. It's going to be a tight one, huh? You can see Nicola coming in from the top left corner of the screen. So the current situation is Aaron Drugatti came in first, and then possibly Seba Spina second, and Yuji Yamamoto third, which we kind of lost track of on the live tracker. And so we are now looking at the battle for fourth between Nicola Donini gliding towards the finish line cylinder and Nicola Heininger running on the ground, followed by Paul Guschelbauer. Looks like Donini is pushing on full bar. Is currently flying at 37 kilometers per hour against the wind.
Okay, let's.
Try to see the very moment. I mean, it looks like he's overpassing them, but of course, we're going to wait until the very last moment to see who's going to win, who's going to be fourth. Between the two Nicolas, we should see him gliding here anytime soon. We're looking right now at Nicola Donini flying over Nicola Heininger and Paul Guschelbauer's heads and overpassing them. So as long as he makes it to the finish line, to the cylinder, he will be closing in fourth position.
Just my life.
All right, we lost the cameras again, apparently, but we're looking on the live tracker at Nicola Donini crossing the finish line in full position, and Nicola Heininger coming soon after. Very good. And in the meantime, we have here with us, we have Yuji Emoto from Japan, who apparently closed today's task in third position. But you wanted to surprise us because we couldn't follow you on the live tracking, and we only saw you here when you arrived, you know.
Yeah,
But
I'm a surprise man.
okay, so tell us a little bit about your race. What was your strategy, and where was the point where you gained your advantage over the others?
So I don't have a big strategy to win, so I just here to finish my race and take some pressure because it's very hard to stay behind of the race and it's very hot here, so it's very difficult to keep the motivation. And for the first time point, we maybe arrive. I arrived at 50. I take a time to see, and I fly, and we take a good summer, and we could jump for next time point and the top landing. So
top landing right
yeah,
next to the
yeah,
top
yeah,
point.
yeah.
Yep.
Top landing for the time point two.
Uh-huh.
How
And
was the top landing there?
it was a little bit tricky because it was this side. So yeah, it was very tricky because and the landing point is very small. You know, a lot of lock, and it's not so easy. So okay, and after I arrived with Donini, so we are maybe lucky boys, we can say that. And after we just fly down from here, and after we just climb up last town point, Hatta signboard, and after I fly, and we cross top athlete, then and they fly down, maybe push full bar, but we take the time. We have had waiting summer, and we go up, and we couldn't touch last town point and come back here by fly.
Very nice.
So did you get a climb after Hatta? Did you get a climb in the valley as well?
Yeah.
Because quite a few athletes got a climb there.
Yeah. It's same time. Yeah.
So you could see Aaron and Seb in that climb before you got there?
Sorry.
Did you see Aaron climb there first before you?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. When I arrived same time with Alon and
Oh.
Remy and
Uh-huh.
Nicolas all together.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you just managed to stay in the climb.
Yeah. We just stay
Oh.
and we just stay behind and
Well done.
yeah. Good.
Very nice. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice. So you heard it. It was at the end, it was an interesting climb race as the people who managed to take it a little bit more easy and don't push too early, too far, made it further. And, that's, I mean, I think that's rule number one in hike and fly races is don't bomb out,
Oh. Aaron did do that at the start. Like he just landed on the ground, but it didn't make as much of a difference then because the thermals weren't going so high.
Yeah.
And I guess you can make mistakes as long as your mistakes don't make too much of an impact. It's okay.
True. Yeah. And as well, yeah, as you said at the beginning, the thermals were not that strong. So for him, it was not a big deal. And also, Aaron is a strong hiker, so he could make up for the mistake in the next leg.
Like he was 100 kilometers behind.
Yeah, exactly.
So a small amphitheater, yeah.
Nice. So as we are speaking, I see. Well, I saw Nick Donini landing just very close to the finish line, and also Nicola Heininger made it to the finish line just after Nicola Donini, followed by Paul Guschelbauer. So we're looking at Noé Court now on his way to the finish line. Shortly after, followed by Thomas Matera and Dan Oberauer. Meantime, we have Eli Eichholzer, Lars Verstetter, and Eli Egger on their way to tagging the bigger turn point. And we just saw Reto Reiser coming back to the headquarters. And as more and more pilots are coming back to the headquarters, we are trying to catch some of them for a few words with us. So, hi, Seb.
Hey, how are you?
Congratulations for your second place today.
Thank you very much.
How was your race?
Well, it started slow as usual on the ground. I was almost last to the takeoff. We were very lucky at the beginning because the first guys, they did not catch a good cycle. They sank out pretty bad, actually
Yeah.
really bad. And then later, those who took off a bit later got, well, beautiful conditions, actually. We got very nice thermals. We got up to cloud base, but from those guys, only a few dared to top land on the next turn point, and that was kind of the magic move because that prevents you from packing, unpacking, walking. So that
True.
saved me a
Yeah.
ton of time. So when I arrived to the next turn point, there was already Paul, Aaron, Nick had already taken off, so it was a good group. And then the motivation went up. So then hiking back up to Hatta, I had to take my time because yeah, I didn't want to get too overheated and burn out. So I just took it easy. Like 10 pilots overtook me on the way up. But then once we were in the air, I knew that the task was to arrive, not to race, but just make sure we arrived. The conditions were not so easy. And we worked as a group, some pilots, so that we can manage to finish basically. So we were very lucky to be able to join each other and work as a team in order to get here. And then I have to say I had a bit of advantage with my glider. My glider is it's a good size, it's a bigger size, and it's going really well. So at the end, I just attacked PwC style and managed to come into second place.
Nice.
Well done.
Thank you.
Remember you saying that you just missed out on the podium at like Alfaya, so
Yeah.
yeah, you came in second this time, so that must be a good feeling.
Yeah, it's pretty good. For a while, I thought I was winning. I didn't see Aaron was like super high, like ridiculously high.
You drifted with that climb so far
Mm.
towards the turn point.
That was the thing to do. So when I saw him, I was like, okay, I'll be second,
Yeah.
which is okay. With this level and with so many really strong athletes,
Uh-huh.
I couldn't be happier. So yeah.
Excellent. And probably the task change last night made it a bit more of a flying race, and that enabled you to do that. Because I remember you saying like Alfaya was probably your best chance because it was the most decision making in the air.
Yeah.
But it ended up being a good race in that way this time as well, right?
Yeah, in a way, yes. You
Uh-huh.
had to choose your cycle to pick your line, and it was like if you take the wrong line, it was painfully bad, and if you take the
Yeah.
right one, then you can make it work. So for sure,
Yep.
having the opportunity to show yourself in the air is, to me, also the essence of hike and fly competitions.
Yep.
So yeah, worked out.
I think it's a bit like hike and fly in Australia. Your heels are so low that when you launch is absolutely critical. Like you said, those guys are in a bad cycle, then your flight's over in a few minutes. And if you can just get a little bit higher, then it makes things so much easier for the rest of the flight.
Yeah, it's almost not beneficial. We were talking with Aaron earlier. It's really not that beneficial to take off to be the first one in the air
Yeah,
because it
exactly.
could go really downhill.
Yep.
And that's what happened to me in Alfaya. I was the first one in the air. I thought it's working, then keep moving.
Yep.
And then I sink out, and then they overtake me
Yeah.
by flying. So
Yep.
yeah, it's quite a roller coaster of feelings. But I
Yep.
was today with a good attitude. Just my main aim was to finish, to be safe, to make sure my gear was in one piece, and I'm in one piece, and that I'm having fun. So
Finish on the
everything
podium.
worked out. Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome.
Nice. Well done, Seb. Congratulations.
Thank you. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the whole essence of this kind of hike and fly competitions. You know, good spirit, good fun, and as well, try and fly as much as you can. I mean, that's of course that's what pilots like to do, but it's also what I think the best strategy is. You're faster, you know.
And it's cool that like even though these races are really short, like they're not going very far, the distances are all pretty close. It's still quite a lot can happen, and there can be strategy can be important. And even if there's time in this race where Aaron can make a bit of a mistake earlier, get overtaken by a lot of people, but then come back, it's
Impressive.
a lot of things compressed into a short task.
Yeah. And the cool thing is, I think races like this are also, it's a very good training for longer races, as it you know, it gives you it forces you to think about the strategy really quickly. And basically, it's the same thing you have to do on a longer race, except you have more time there and you have more distance to cover. So you have more possibilities. So more choices than the shorter races, but at the end, the principles are the same pretty much. So I would say, if anybody of you wants to aim for longer longer I can fly competitions, multi-days and team races, I mean, to start from smaller, shorter day races like these ones in your country, I think it's a very good strategy to start getting into the mindset and learning the strategy and looking at the others. And as well, on a short race, it's much more evident which strategy was paying better because everything happens at the same time. So it's definitely a good gym to train in for even longer distances.
Yeah, as he's saying that, I'm thinking of an example that exactly totally reminds me of that. So, in my X-Alps races, like personally, I've done a lot of flying completely on my own, and there hasn't been the strategy thing of watching other pilots and getting into position and mistakes and all that kind of stuff. A lot of the X-Alps pilots have got more competition experience, so they have that. But I would find myself doing an X-Alps, and it's an amazing experience to be in the X-Alps. But I was wondering why I was racing in such a way that I just end up completely on my own. Because then, why do I take part in this event if I'm going to be on my own? But in a short race like this, it's more evident what the different strategies are, how they're working together, and all that kind of thing, as you're saying.
And back to the race, let's see who else made it to the finish line. So we definitely saw Nicola Donini, Nicola Heininger, and Paul Guschelbauer. And shortly after I think we had Noé Court on his way to the finish line. So probably, as we were speaking with Seb, I assume he made it. Yeah, there he is. So probably he made it to the finish line already, or he's making it right now. And soon after, we will see, let's see who's coming back from the turn point. I think it was Lars Verstetter and Helmut Eichholzer, together with Eli Egger. And we are trying to escape the sun here that's coming for us on our table. So and going back to the tail of the race, we have Melina Vinci hiking back up to Hatta. The perseverance of Melina is remarkable I mean, she's now quite back behind everybody else, but she's still pushing it. Other pilots have already stopped the race when they find themselves too far back. But, I think also the good spirit about Hike and Fly is don't give up, keep pushing until, to find your limit and do as much as you can. And that's what Melina is showing us right now. And the same thing she showed us in the last few.
She's just having more of an experience, and so far the thermals have been improving through the others, so she will hopefully nab one, and then it'll be just one more flight to finish.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, true.
A lot of pilots kicking the tarmac.
Yeah, exactly. And we saw Remy Baudel coming here after finishing the race. So as we assumed, his tracking stopped at a certain point. So we will have to wait until the final check, the final controls before knowing in which position he came. All right, and we are close to the 3 hour mark, and everyone else says more and more people gathering, and it's still a long way to the finish. So I would say, yeah, the first few pilots made it to the finish line. Now, actually, Thomas Matera also made it to the finish line running. And so I guess from now on, except some very bold move from Molina from the back, I would say there's not going to be that many change in the ranking as most athletes are running either towards the last turn point or towards the finish line.
Of course, there's the relief maps tracking if you want to check it out yourselves.
Exactly. So if you want to keep following the race for yourself, you can just click on the link down below in the description of this video and access the Relief Maps website and keep watching your favorite athlete until the finish of the race. But as far as we are concerned, I can say we have come a long way. This was the fifth and last task of this year's UAE Hike&Fly Championship. I would say so far it was.
So you're not counting the burger eating task then?
I'm sorry?
You're not counting the burger eating task.
I mean, I won the spicy contest, so I don't think that counts. So. But yeah, that was also lots of fun. And speaking of which, we remind you to keep following us on our Instagram page at UAE Hike&Fly Championship to get access to all high quality content, videos and pictures of every day's pilot's life, as well as race days, scouting days. So keep watching on Instagram to keep updated on what's going on, and as well to see the final ranking of today's task and the overall ranking of the race. So I would say it was a long journey for everybody this year, but we're getting close to an end.
Yeah, well, it was good. I mean, hopefully everybody back home had a good moment. We enjoyed it to give you all the news live in effect here on the live stream with the two boys, Fiore, Nick, huh? What a team, huh?
And with Lorenzo entertaining here locally with all the local guys and helping us hype up the vibe and hype up the mood of this race overall. That's the thing you can do best for sure.
Yeah, it's always party time when we are running, I guess.
Exactly.
So wherever you are, make sure you find us and you find the party.
Yep. And as far as we're concerned, I think we can call it a day and a week. And we thank you all very much for sticking with us on these very long hours and these very long days. I hope you all had fun watching. And if you're watching this in a different time, be sure to keep following us on Instagram to be updated for next editions. And hopefully we'll be back here to entertain you and show you what's possible, even in a place which nobody thought was possible to do a Hike&Fly race in.
Yeah.
All right. So once again, thank you very much, and
Namaste. Have a good one.
see you next time.